Thank you for joining us today for this technology whiteboard session where we'll be discussing storage made simple for hybrid cloud with IBM Flash Systems. We have two speakers for today's event. Jamie Ridgway, Vice President of Sales with ACS, will provide a quick overview of ACS and their 40-year track record of providing technology solutions for their clients nationwide. And Eric Herzog, Chief Marketing Officer and Vice President, Global Storage Channels for IBM, will present on storage made simple for hybrid cloud with IBM Flash Systems. So here's information for today's event. This webinar will be available on demand. You'll receive an email with the link to access the presentation. At the end of the presentation, we will have a Q&A session. You may ask questions at any time through the chat or the Q&A window. Now I'm going to introduce Jamie Ridgway, Vice President Sales with ACS, to kick off today's presentation on storage made simple for hybrid cloud with IBM Flash Systems. Jamie, please take it away.
Thank you, Keith. Hi, I'm Jamie Ridgway, Vice President of Sales for ACS. ACS is a little more than 40 years old, and we like to call ourselves a technology compass. What that means is we simplify technology and create dynamic solutions which enable organizations to run more efficiently. Our goal is to understand how technology can help our clients save money, increase profitability, and/or mitigate risk and liability. Our roots are here in the Midwest, but our experience takes us all over the United States. Our heritage is in IBM Power Systems and IBM Storage, and we're really excited about the innovation IBM has invested, especially in flash storage. That's enough about us. Let's get to the featured speaker, Eric Herzog, and thank you for letting ACS sponsor this event.
All right, there you go, Eric. You're all set. Oh, can't hear you. Okay, Eric, you need to unmute.
Okay, I want to thank everybody for coming. It's been a long day already with my first webinar this morning at 12:30 a.m. Silicon Valley time. I'm coming to you live from Silicon Valley. So we're going to focus on how to make storage simple for a hybrid cloud environment. It's not if you're going to do a hybrid cloud, it's when you're going to do a hybrid cloud. And if you're big enough where you want to do a private cloud, the key tenets of what you would do in a hybrid cloud is what you would do for your own private cloud if you need that sort of extra security. So I want to thank you and the ACS team for attending today. When you see what's going on in the world, there's been a huge, huge change and acceleration of the chapter 2 of digital transformation. At IBM, we see this into 3 buckets. First is journey to the cloud, whether that be a hybrid config or whether you do a private for your own. We have a number of solutions that fit into that, and we're going to talk about that very specifically today. We also offer solutions for building a smarter business, and that really means the incorporation of AI, big data, and analytics technology into your business. And it doesn't matter whether you're a global Fortune 500 or Herzog's Bar and Grill and anything in between. All companies, big, medium, and small, can leverage this technology. And then, as you know, cybersecurity and cyber resiliency is top of mind all the way up to the CEO. The question is not if you'll be attacked, it's when you'll be attacked. And if you're a larger entity, you know, let's say a mid-sized enterprise at the 2 to 3 billion range up to the global Fortune 500, you're not being attacked once a day. You're probably being attacked 4, 5, 6 times a day. So how do you have cyber resiliency and modern data protection around your environment? How can you do that? At IBM Storage, our award-winning portfolio lines up very nice around that. We have storage for hybrid cloud, both on the mainframe side and also for all other environments. And we're going to spend most of our time today talking about that. We have storage for your big data, AI, and analytic workloads. And of course, underpinning all of it is modern data protection and cyber resiliency. In fact, IDC, one of the largest IT analysts in the world, noted in Q4 of last year that IBM Storage delivers the most cyber resilient storage technology in the industry. And really, storage is not the only thing you need to have a security strategy. So you need to reach out to your ACS or IBM sales rep. It's really putting together a complete solution of which storage is important, but you need other technologies as well, and ACS can provide that for you. So today we're going to focus on our Flash Systems family and how we can help you quickly and cost effectively deploy a hybrid cloud environment. One of our key tenets is that everything should be made as simple as possible. Easy for ACS to sell to you, easy for ACS to deploy with you, easy for ACS to train you, easy to use once they've trained you, but not simpler, which means incredible set of features and functions you need to optimize your applications, your workloads, and your use cases across your hybrid cloud environment. Now, when you look out in the industry, this is what our competitors offer in the non-mainframe space. So this is not counting mainframe. This is just for what's left of the Unix market, the Linux market, the Windows market, what you would buy for off the mainframe. You can see it ranges from 2 products on the low end, which means different management schema, different APIs, different ways of talking to the cloud, all the way up to 8 from some of our competitors. So what IBM has done is dramatically change the ballgame. We are coming out with a single new family that spans entry to enterprise and seamlessly out to a hybrid cloud environment for all mainframe environments. As noted by Computer Reseller News, jumping ahead of rivals like Dell Technology and HPE with our Flash System family. So what have we done? We've brought out a single storage platform based on 3 pieces of software. Spectrum Virtualize, which has both a cloud edition and an on-prem edition. Spectrum Virtualize on-prem is included when you buy the storage from ACS. Storage Insights, which are predictive analytics and AI management capability for our actual arrays. That's included as well at no charge. What this does, it gives you entry, mid-range, and high-end solutions that span all non-mainframe platforms, everything that's not a mainframe, and can seamlessly move data out to the cloud. We incorporate the latest performance technology, NVMe, which happens to be not only in storage, but probably in the servers you bought from ACS as well, have NVMe technology. So this allows us to dramatically increase the innovation of the platform while dramatically reducing your CapEx, your OpEx, and the complexity. And we're going to walk through that today. The systems are incredibly fast. These are the fastest performing systems of anyone on the market. You're going to see a slide on that in a second. We have data reduction technology, which means you have to buy less storage to run that data. Everyone wants 365 by 24 by 7. We provide that with operational resiliency. We've already talked about cyber resiliency, and it's important. And you want to make sure it's easy to configure, to monitor, to support, to secure, to tier, and everything else, and to integrate with other environments inside your data center and across your hybrid cloud environment. And lastly, our Spectrum Virtualized software works not only on IBM storage technology, but our competitors as well. So for those of you that would like to have a heterogeneous environment of storage, we can support and manage not just our storage, but over 550 different storage arrays. The vast bulk of them are not IBM logoed. As you can see, we have a staircase of technologies, and basically at each level of the staircase is an inclusive license that you would get from ACS. So the difference in the tiers is, of course, the power of the arrays. The more powerful the array, the more software it can run while still handling your applications, workloads, and use cases, and providing the right resiliency, the right security, and the right performance while running our software. But at each one of those staircases, it is an all-inclusive license. So this gives you a number of sophisticated technologies, everything from integration with Red Hat OpenShift or VMware, 3-site replication, data at rest encryption. So there's no excuse now not to encrypt data. And you're going to see why with what we've done with our Flash System family. You can encrypt the data, and guess what? No performance penalty. So when the application owners were complaining, so the chief legal officer, the CFO, or the chief security officer was telling you, we need to encrypt the data, the application owner was saying, please don't do that because it runs slow. Well, with the Flash System 5010, 7200, 9200, 9200R, there is no performance penalty to encrypt data or to compress it, by the way, either. And in fact, the analysts have noted the power of this software and what we can do in a hybrid cloud storage configuration. They also noted this all comes with an impressive all-flash array too. So what we've done is combined the best in storage system technology with storage software technology to bring you an integrated package that drives innovation while dropping cost and dropping complexity. From a performance perspective, in the traditional storage benchmarks, nothing is faster. Latency and IOPS are very important for your transactional workloads, such as your Mongo or your Oracle databases, and bandwidth is important if you're running big data AR analytic workloads. All of the solutions are compared to public data from our competition, and you'll note that in most instances, we're showing their highest end solution. In ours, we are not always doing that. So for example, in latency, our 5100, which you notice was sort of in the middle of the pack of our offering. It's not the fastest, it's not the slowest, it's not entry, but it's certainly not high end. We have 30% better latency than the highest end products from our competitors. So essentially, a mid-range product from IBM can outperform the most expensive from our competition. In IOPS, we have a very unique position. Not only at 18 million IOPS is that the fastest in the industry, EMC being number 2 at 15 million, but we can do that with only 8 RACU. That's right. Our competitor who can get 15 million, which again is 3 million slower, takes 2 full racks, 80 RACU, more power, more floor space, more rack space, more cooling, more operational manpower. And it's also much more CapEx. We can deliver our 18 million IOPS in 8 RACU, 8. They need 80 RACU and they're slower. But again, not only focused on the performance you need for applications, workloads, and use cases, but also focusing on trying to drive down your cost of doing business. Make sure these systems are also extremely efficient. In fact, if you look at the bottom left of your screen, you'll see our custom FlashCore module. We take raw flash, like what you would have in your Droid or your iPhone, and actually create an industry standard flash module. This flash module incorporates very sophisticated technology that gives us incredible density, and that density translates into up to 4 petabytes of data in only 2 RACU. We shrink the amount of data, we can compress it, we can block dedupe it, we can thin provision it, all technologies that allow you to buy less storage to manage the actual data that you need. And we include a number of aspects that are hardware accelerated. So for example, compression and encryption can be done with our FlashCore modules with no performance penalty. So if you're in a bigger company and the CLO, the CSO, or the CFO says, boy, we need to encrypt the data, there's no excuse now. No matter what that data is, we can encrypt it without any performance penalty. On the compression side, it's usually an issue of performance, right? Compression does allow you to buy less storage, and we really want to help you do that. And so does ACS. So we do that with our hardware-based compression technologies. All this adds up to economic benefit and impact. These numbers are from a third-party document, the Total Economic Impact Report that was put out in April 2020. This was an interview of several IBM storage companies in North America and in Europe. You can see some incredible benefits. How about an ROI of 359%? And most importantly, on the bottom left, what if you could go to your CFO or your legal department or the finance guys, all of which are tightly controlling the budgets, and say, wow, we need more storage. We can get a payback of 8 months. As you probably know, the impact of the pandemic and the recession has not only tightened up budgets, what budget the CFO or the finance guys give you, they often are still scrutinizing. Instead of having a payback period of 24 to 36 months in a normal economic time, under this pandemic, they're looking for a payback of less than 12 months, and we can deliver 8 months. We also, ACS can create for you custom reports, our storage modeler tool and our client storage assessment, both of which are free. ACS can do for you and not only tell you about what's the right performance for the applications, the workloads, the use cases that you want, what's the right type of storage you want for the best resiliency that you need, but also can produce for your company a custom TCO and ROI analysis. The TEI, the Total Economic Impact Report, is a door opener. And by the way, you might show that to finance. They might say, okay, you've got the order, go ahead and spend that budget. But we have other tools that ACS can use with you to make sure that if you need something custom to make your finance team happy, we can do that for you. We make these systems easy to tier. We support not only multiple performance tiers, such as flash, storage class memory, and even hard drives, although almost no one buys hard drives these days, but also multiple arrays. We can tier from one array to another. Why does that matter? It can improve the performance. We automatically move data back and forth. When the data is hot, it moves to the fastest tier. When it's cold, it moves to the slowest tier. So it is a way, quite honestly, for those of you that purchase product to often extend the life of depreciated equipment and actually use it longer. Take and put it into a backup archive tier. FlashSystem will automatically move hot data out to that backup and archive tier, or cold data up and back, right? Depending on the heat. These systems are easy to scale. You saw that in order to get the 18 million, it's a 4-node cluster. We can easily scale, providing both performance and fault tolerance. And it's managed with a single pane of glass. Again, trying to drive down your operational expense and the needs of the manpower to run your storage. They're very easy to monitor. We have a cloud-based management tool, Ibm Storage Insights, which is included for free at no charge. This will give you an operational view of the health, the capacity, and performance of the system in a very easy to use manner. And if you're heterogeneous, we actually offer for a slight charge, talk to ACS, but if you're heterogeneous, our Ibm Storage Insights Pro supports EMC, NetApp, and Hitachi gear. So that way you could look at the health, capacity, and performance of our competitors' gear, not just of our own. It's very easy to support. We support automated support processes. First of all, you don't want to have to call tech support at ACS or IBM because something's gone wrong. You're on the phone. They say, Mr. Herzog, thank you very much. We're sorry about, by the way, could you send us your logs so we could take a look at them? Well, guess what? With Storage Insights, the logs are automatically accessible. They can look at them right there on the phone with you. But one of the key points is 66% of system issues were resolved automatically. So with this software, 66% of the time when you had to pick up the phone in the past, you don't pick up the phone or send an email. The system self-repairs. And if you do have to open a tech support ticket with us, resolution of that ticket is 40% faster. We also allow you to join a community providing best practices. That's right. We all know that users love to work with each other. It's anonymous, so won't tell you what company it is. You don't have to participate if you don't want to, but feedback from this has been incredible because it allows users to not only get feedback and insights from IBM solution architects or our partner like ACS's solution architects, but actually from real users who are also using SAP, or also using Oracle, or also using Mongo or Cassandra, or also using FlashSystem with an AI workload, so you can see what they're doing. Again, this is free. You don't have to join if you don't want to, but it does allow you in a community to share best practices with each other. We also made it simple to connect to the cloud, as we talked about. This is all about storage for hybrid cloud environments, giving you business continuity, DevOps and analytics support, cyber resiliency. When you put a copy out in the cloud, if you do have a malware or ransomware attack on-prem, the copy out in the cloud is free of that attack. And of course, migration of workloads, either for or back. So in fact, we had one of our large global financial institutions, in this case based in Europe, they migrated the workload out to do the DevOps, and then they actually migrated back because the workload is incredibly performance sensitive. So while they could develop the application in the cloud, you couldn't run it in the cloud. So in this case, they migrated the data from the cloud actually back on-prem. We have others who migrate workloads that don't need that type of performance out to their favorite cloud provider. And ACS, of course, can set you up with cloud providers of your choice. You need 365 by 24 by 7. So with all of our operational resiliency technology, you can make sure that you are always available and always ready to go. 2 and 3 site replication, as you probably are aware. 3-site replication is a very high-end feature reserved mostly for mainframe storage. IBM has brought that all the way down to our most entry product, the FlashSystem 5010. Hyperswap, you need to talk to ACS about. It's 100% data availability guarantee. There is a little premium on that, but for those of you that really need that always on capability, it's worth doing. And we have enhanced high availability, combining the two together. This diagram on the far right actually originally came from an end user. We removed all their stuff and made it look like an IBM doc, but one of our large financial institutions, in this case in North America, put together the 2-site and the hyperswap. One of our solutions architects saw it. We talked to them and said, hey, we don't care if you share it. You can't say who we are, but please feel free to share it. So in this case, this capability, while in our storage, was actually their idea. So they came up with, wait, you could take hyperswap and 2-site and create high availability. So this really was something that came from an end user, which is why we really think that these communities are important for you and other users to share information with each other. You need cyber resiliency. It's not if you'll be attacked, it's absolutely when you'll be attacked. And if you're mid-sized to large, it's going to be how often. And that could be 20 times a day, could be 100 times a day if you're a global Fortune 100 or you're a government agency, even if you're not a secret agency. So we provide encryption technology with our FlashCore modules, no performance impact. With our Spectrum Virtualize that works with the competition, we can do it not only for us, anytime we move data back and forth to the cloud. We discussed already cloud air gapping as a way to help you create a gap, okay, so that if there is a malware ransomware attack, data that's stored out in your cloud provider will not be affected. ACS can also offer you malware and ransomware detection with our industry award-winning Spectrum Protect, delivering modern data protection and cyber resiliency. Ever since there's been a Gartner Magic Quadrant on enterprise backup, Spectrum Protect has been a winner. 14 years of that report, we have been a leader. We've incorporated about 18 months ago malware and ransomware detection using AI-based technology. You need to back up all your storage arrays anyway, and Spectrum Protect supports not just our arrays, but all of our competitors. So why not move to that and not only get the flash system, but get the malware and ransomware detection on our storage, but also on our competitor storage. Snapshotting, of course, is both application and environmentally integrated. So whether you're doing it at the app level or whether you're doing it, for example, with OpenShift or VMware, we're integrated. Now you will have a cyber attack. So what's your response? You need to be able to recover quickly. We can recover from the cloud. We also offer tape. ACS can tell you tape. It is still the cheapest way to back up an archive, but also tape creates an air gap, just like the cloud does. So if you do have an attack, you can go back to a known good tape and recover. We can do it from VMware or container environments that are not impacted, and you can recover from snapshots. All this you need to do in a fenced network. You then have your app guys check it out, and then the last thing you want to do is restore bad data that's been already malware or ransomware infected back onto a clean system that you've just created. So you have your app guys, you move the data in the fenced network, they check it out. If it's good, you go ahead and restore all over your servers and all over the storage. If not, you do another recovery point and do the same thing again. And ACS and IBM can help you automate that process to make it easy, simple, and almost painless. We know that storage does not exist in a vacuum. It's in an overall hybrid cloud environment, which means integrating with other technologies such as VMware, Hyper-V, or the emerging container world. While IBM owns Red Hat, Storage has been working with Red Hat for over 15 years. As you know, we bought them last year. So IBM Storage was working with the Red Hat team way, way before IBM Corporate decided to buy them. We work with Red Hat OpenShift, the container platform. We also will work in a generic environment. So if you are going to, what I'll say, roll your own, use Kubernetes with open source, ACS can help put that together, but our FlashSystem products will work in that environment. And if you want to use VMware's Tanzu, which also is a container-based technology, we'll work with that as well. So we are completely heterogeneous in supporting the virtualization world, Hyper-V, VMware, KVM, even the Oracle Virtualization Manager. And we do the same thing in the container world. OpenShift, a generic, if you will, with Kubernetes, or using VMware's Tanzu. We can support all the environments. And of course, for those of you that are global Fortune 500s that buy from ACS, you clearly are going to probably run all of these environments, or certainly multiples. So we want to make sure we can support you seamlessly. Now, you may have, if you're a bigger shop, some in-house DevOps teams and software engineering teams. They always want storage. They're always bugging the infrastructure storage admins. What if I told you there's a way to safely automate tasks and allow the developers and the DevOps guys to actually allocate their own storage? We integrate with the Red Hat Ansible automation framework. That's exactly what it's designed to do. So once you provide that level, the playbook, if you will, to them, you know that the DevOps guy or the developer, A, is not going to erase data by mistake and cause data loss, which usually means loss of a job, nor are they going to, if you excuse my French, screw up your storage so that you have to spend a day and call up ACS solutions architecture or solution engineering team to come in and help you fix it. And it was working great. But then the software guy who knows nothing about storage messed it up. So when you use the Red Hat Ansible's framework and use this playbook, that will not happen. We have comprehensive support for Red Hat OpenShift across the portfolio. ACS and all of our solution providers all over the world can now sell Red Hat. It is a great solution for the Linux community in its traditional distributions and now also in the container space as well. So all of our system array products and all of our software products have extensive support for Red Hat OpenShift, but also will work, as I mentioned, in other container environments. I could have this exact same slide that said VMware Tanzu or said open source with Kubernetes. We support any and all container environments, just like we support any and all virtualization environments as well, giving especially larger accounts freedom of choice. And of course, in most large accounts, you're heterogeneous in these sort of infrastructures anyway. We also make sure it's easy to operate. As I mentioned, Spectrum Virtualize works with all of our competitors. Over 550 different arrays that are not ours, delivering enterprise class data services, dramatically simplifying the management, reducing both operational manpower and of course, operational expense. In fact, the storage community is recognizing the power of Spectrum Virtualize, which works both on-prem and also can span seamlessly out to a hybrid cloud environment. We want to make sure ACS can give you lots of options to acquire. You can buy it, you can lease it, you can use our utility model or subscription models, which are available, which turns primarily a CapEx solution into an OpEx solution. We bill you once a quarter, always in arrears. So for example, in October, we were billing people on the storage utility model for the storage they used in July, August, and September. When the storage use goes up, we charge you more. When it goes down, guess what? We charge you less. So it allows you to move up or move down in your operational expense. Evolution Systems not only saw the cost savings, but with the storage utility model, also much easier to configure and work with. If you're expanding and you're buying new storage and servers, ACS gets them, they ship them in. Obviously, with COVID, it's even worse, but even before COVID, it still takes time to get all the servers there. You got to configure them, then you add the storage. With the storage utility model, what used to take 4 to 6 weeks at Evolution, they can do in 4 to 6 minutes. At the same time, with the storage utility model, they also have an OpEx-based payment structure. We have a number of guarantees, our FlashWatch guarantees. Please talk to ACS, your IBM rep, about these. We can do everything from giving you better flash endurance than our competitors. The availability guarantee, by the way, even our entry array, the 5010, without hyperswap, is 6 nines of availability. 6 nines of availability is 5 minutes and 31 seconds of downtime in a full 365 by 24 by 7 operational year. So lots of things we can do to help you from an acquisition, an operational, or a pricing and migration perspective. In short, one platform, all wielded together with the latest technology such as Flash, high performance NVMe, our incredible storage products, Spectrum Virtualize and Storage Insights, spanning out to Spectrum Virtualize for public cloud. one way to have storage for all non-mainframe environments compared to our competitors, driving dramatically up the innovation you're going to see in your hybrid cloud environment, but dramatically reducing your complexity and reducing your costs in both OpEx and CapEx. And in fact, IDC, one of the leading analyst firms in all of IT, noted, we believe this radical shift to their portfolio will significantly increase both the value and innovation delivered to IBM storage customers. At the same time, as you saw, we're also focused on making it less expensive for you from CapEx and an OpEx perspective. In addition to the community that's part of Storage Insights, we also have a broader storage community. Over 5,000 members. Our resellers such as ACS are members, but so are end users. Out of 5,000 members, 3,100 of them are end users such as yourselves. This allows you to get a much more technical view of what's going on. We have our reference architectures there, our red books there, a number of technical demos. There's free webcasts that are, again, based on technology. So not like what we're doing here, which is, you know, a higher level pitch, but getting down and dirty. How do you do this with Spectrum Virtualizer? How do you configure the array optimized for an SAP HANA configuration? And that comes with a community, and it's no charge to you. So once you bought a flash system, it's something you might want to do. It also allows you to see the broader portfolio in action. We have a number of public references. This is just a sample. IBM Storage has about 650 public references. You can also see that many of them buy a lot of the portfolio. So, and they span all kinds of industries. We have cloud service providers here. You can see companies from all over the world. Large global Fortune 500 like Hyundai and Orange Caribe is, of course, the is the Latin America subsidiary of Orange, the 50 billion euro telco based out of France. So things all over and all sorts of industries. So ACS can leverage these for you. Take a look and see what people are doing using IBM storage, how we're saving time, saving money, while increasing the levels of innovation. So I want to thank you, and I'm going to turn it back over to Keith. So now I'm going to stop sharing, and I am going to make Keith the host. Keith, you have the ball.
All right, excellent. Let's go ahead and jump into the next section of the Q&A. Okay, excellent. Well, thanks, Dan and Van. Oh, sorry, the wrong one. There we go. All right, so we've got a couple interesting questions lined up for you, Eric. I'm going to go ahead and get this started. Let's see. So the first question is kind of interesting. It actually came from one of our end users. It's a question about IOPS. Earlier in the actual presentation, you were talking about IOPS and speed, and this question kind of came across regarding, is IOPS more a matter of capacity, so not really speed, or is it throughput? Maybe you can kind of dig into that a little bit further. He feels like it might have been not necessarily misleading, but maybe not explained how we would totally understand it. Does that make sense?
Sure. So basically, there's three primary methods of measuring the performance of storage. One is bandwidth, which, by the way, often is called throughput. And that is a measure that helps you understand the performance you're going to get for an AI, big data, analytic workload. When you're doing transactional workloads, such as Oracle or SAP, you have two things that matter. IOPS. So IOPS mean in and out. It's literally in and out performance specification. Data moves in and data moves out through your array. So that's IOs. IOs in, IOs out. And then latency. So IOPS are usually a factor of the power of your array controllers sitting in your storage system. So as we move up in numbers, the actual array controllers, which basically are mini servers that do nothing but run storage, by the way, we use the same chips that server vendors do. You have the same chips to connect to NVMe, the same chips to connect to Fiber Channel, the same chips to connect to your Ethernet environment. So essentially, when you look at an array controller, it looks like a mini version of literally a server motherboard. but it doesn't run Windows or Linux or Unix or any other operating system. It literally runs your own microcode or RAID stack, which is basically a little mini operating system that does nothing but service storage. That's how complex storage can be. So our 9200 and our 9200R are the most powerful array controllers in our solution, which is why they can do 18 million IOPS. The other thing we do is we cluster them. So when you cluster, not only do you get fault tolerant capability, if one element of the cluster fails, the other takes over, but at the same time, they also allow you to aggregate performance. So in a 4-node cluster, which is 8 rack U of the 9200, we can do 18 million IOPS, measurable bandwidth, or sorry, measurable IOPS. Bandwidth is 180 gigs a second. And on latency, we can do 70 microseconds. And that's all measurable with industry standard tools. So that's what IOP is. A, heavily related to transactional workloads, not to AI, big data, or analytics, and is a measure of data moving in and data moving out. And the more powerful are array controllers, and each one of those systems I showed has 2 array controllers inside, which are fully what's known as active-active. They're both working together in tandem to deliver performance. They also will take over. If one fails, the other takes over, so your storage is always available. So that's within the array. Then across multiple arrays, you run a cluster. So that's how you get that performance by we have dual array controllers inside every storage system. And then to get the 18 million, you create a 4-node cluster. If you don't have a 4-node cluster, you can't get 18 million. If you have a 2-node cluster, you can basically get 9 million IOPS. So it's not as fast. You need a 4-node cluster to get there.
Wow. Okay. Lots of big numbers. Good deal. Hey, Nathan, I hope that answered the question. We've got another new question just came in. Let's see. They say, we are Dell EMC and flash arrays. How has IBM FlashSystem outperformed Dell or Pure Storage?
Well, that's very straightforward. Those are numbers right off their website and numbers that you can run tests in a POC and then run tests with ours in a POC, and you'll see we outperform them in all of them. So we are, by the way, the second largest storage company in the world, EMC. And by the way, I was a senior vice president at EMC for 5 years. So I came from EMC before I was at IBM. So while EMC is the biggest storage company in the world, IBM is actually the second biggest storage company in the world, dramatically larger than the other company that was mentioned in the question. But these are all numbers that you can validate. ACS can arrange for proofs of concept, so you can actually test it yourself. Obviously, with COVID, we've also developed a virtual POC. So ACS can work that out. So if you don't have a lot of guys in the data center, we can literally give you arrays to play with remotely and allow you to do a proof of concept on your own.
Eric, and I remember seeing the different, industry trade information. This has been like for a few years now, right? IBM's been in this position, leadership role for a number of years.
Yes, we have been the number 2 storage company in the world for probably 5 years in a row now.
Okay, so a lot of history and a lot of wins, so to speak.
Yeah. All right. Well, and we offer both storage systems and storage software. In fact, as you know, while everyone's gone flash, there was a thing called the hard drive. The hard drive was invented in the early 1950s on Cottle Road in San Jose, California by IBM. So basically almost the entire storage industry was based on an invention IBM did in the early 50s called a hard drive. Now, most people don't use hard drives now except for backup and archiving, and everybody's moved to flash. But we are, if you will, the father of the storage industry by the invention of that hard drive back in the early 1950s.
Eric, I remember hard drives.
I used to be in the IBM hard drive division. I also used to work at Seagate and Maxtor, 2 other large Fortune 500 hard drive companies. So I do remember those days.
Yes.
Right now, the only reason to buy those is really to back up and archive. Everything is going flash. And flash, by the way, is not more expensive for any primary workload. So when you're looking at your Oracle databases, your SQL databases, almost anything, and all flash arrays are not only high end. So in the old days, 7, 8 years ago, you would only have something like the 9200. The low cost all flash 5010 from any vendor didn't exist. They basically concentrated in the high end, and it was still way, 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 way more expensive than our 9200 is today. But now flash is spread ubiquitously into entry, mid-range, and high-end configurations from all vendors. And again, except for backup and archive, in most applications and use cases, it's a waste to buy hard drives. So you really focus on what you need and use flash, and it is absolutely not more expensive. And ACS can walk you through the numbers to show you that.
Okay, great answer. Let's go ahead and jump into hybrid clouds. This is kind of a strategy conversation question. Andrew's asking, how do they get started building a hybrid cloud strategy? So just even, where do they start?
Okay, so first of all, you have to do a lot of research on what are you looking for your applications, workloads, and use cases. What performance do you need? What security do you need? What availability do you need? You also want to clearly take a look at cost. I hate to say this because IBM has a cloud division, but in many cases, the cloud is the ultimate razor. When you look at AWS, Amazon, Azure, IBM, Google, they all promise this great pricing on storage. Well, it's true, it's super cheap. But when you say, I want 5 nines of availability, 6 or 7 nines, which you can easily get on a storage array, our 5010, our lowest product is 6 nines of availability, and all our competitors are at least 5 nines. If you want even 4 nines or 5 nines, they charge you. If you want super performance SLAs, they charge you. When you want certain availability and reliability SLAs, they charge you. Again, the ultimate razor blade. And you pay for all ingress and egress over the network. So all those network fees, I was talking to one of the largest hospitals based in New York, tied to a university. They're an existing customer, and they're looking at doing some expansion. So we were talking to the CIO, the senior VP of infrastructure, and the 4 directors that work for the. So we said, what's your hybrid cloud strategy? And the CIO says, we don't have one. We're in healthcare. We have high performance needs. We have high security needs. And we sat down with a calculator. Literally, he said calculator, but then one of his guys started laughing. He said, okay, not a calculator, with a spreadsheet. And they figured out what data would have. By the way, they have 57 petabytes of data and are looking to get to probably 100 petabytes next year. So he said, if we put that all out in the cloud and move it back and forth, he said, we could buy the most expensive storage in every category of storage from existing vendors and would still be half the price of putting it all in public cloud, independent of security concerns. So that's why hybrid cloud has become such a big deal. When cloud first came out, everyone was going public. People then realized, oh, if I want certain performance, certain security, certain this or that, all the cloud providers charge extra. So you get a base thing. Think about the cheapest low-end car you could buy, which doesn't have a radio. Well, you guys are too young, but I'm almost 70. So when I bought my first car, a radio was extra. By the way, the floor mats were extra. It basically was a plastic car on the inside. And if I wanted anything, I had to pay for it. So that's what the cloud is from a storage perspective. By the way, certain applications or workloads like backup and archive are outstanding for that, because usually you move the data out, you don't have to move it back. But if you have workloads that you're going to move back and forth, so you need to figure it all out, figure out what workloads make sense, and then literally do a cost analysis. This large hospital did. And they said for them, it would be crazy. They said, other than maybe some backup, they're not going to go to a hybrid cloud. And they're also a little worried about security because obviously healthcare is heavily regulated. But that's not the main reason. It really, from the CIO perspective, was someone sitting there with a spreadsheet and figuring out what it cost, what all the premiums were, and how much data when you have 57 petabytes would constantly be moving back and forth. And he said it just didn't pay. So you figure that all out. You figure out what makes sense for you. You have someone with a spreadsheet. You figure out what security you need. Obviously, if you're a bigger company, you need to consult with a legal or security officer if you've got one, because there's certain data they'll say, don't ever put that out in the cloud because we could be sued if it got lost or whatever. So then you keep it on-prem, right? So, but most people, including most of the Fortune 500, are moving to a hybrid cloud config. And in fact, IDC did a study of clouds and found out that the average enterprise, and for them, their study was about companies at 20 billion and more in Europe and North America. They found that the average enterprise is going to use 7 different cloud providers. Some of that is legal reasons. For example, if you're in Canada, the data cannot leave the physical confines of Canada. Now, most of the big cloud providers have data centers in Canada, but there's 200 and some odd countries. So even us, Google, Amazon, and Microsoft, the 4 largest cloud providers, we don't have data centers in every country. So if you've got an office in a certain country, you can't move the data out of there. So you may have Amazon in Zimbabwe, and in South Africa, you might have Azure, and you might have Google in Egypt, and in England, you might have IBM, because not everyone's got their clouds, or they could have these legal restrictions. And then obviously, just the reason you play off different application or server vendors to get best price, cloud's the same way. So that's how you get together. And one of the good things you can do is ACS can help you do a hybrid cloud assessment. There are serious legal and financial issues if you're heavily regulated or publicly traded. So you need to make sure the IT team consults with them. And again, a lot of our customers in the Global Fortune 500 are moving to the hybrid cloud, but they're careful about what they move, how they move, and they plan it all out from a legal perspective, a cost perspective, a security perspective, and an operational manpower perspective, to see when they do a hybrid cloud and when they don't, and what applications, workloads, and use cases fit. So if we go through that process, it usually pays to do certain workloads for sure in a hybrid cloud environment, and ACS can help you do that.
Yep, great point. So the devil's definitely in the details, and working with someone like ACS can really help provide a way to avoid the pitfalls. So good information. We just have 2 last questions. One's a pretty interesting one. End users asking, why do they need an open hybrid cloud platform?
So the idea of the open hybrid cloud platform, A, you can switch from cloud to cloud, okay? B, from our perspective, the fact that we work with other people's storage and can hybrid cloud enable them allows you to have some storage from us and some storage from our competitors, or have us for primary storage and use them for backup and archive. While we focused on what we do with FlashSystem with hybrid cloud, all of our technology is hybrid cloud capable. So even on the mainframe, we can do hybrid clouds. We can do hybrid cloud for backup and data protection. In fact, in addition to what you could do with all the big cloud providers, we have probably 350 small cloud providers all over the world where their backup as a service and business continuity service is actually based on Spectrum Protect. We probably have 20 or 30 public references that talk about how they use Spectrum Protect. So that's your modern data protection cyber resiliency technology that's cloud enabled. Our Spectrum Scale, which this week at the Supercomputing Show on Monday was awarded 2 different awards, one for best AI technology in the world jointly with the University of Birmingham in the UK, and this is for astrophysics analysis, and also won an award for what we do with the Sandia National Labs and the Lawrence Livermore Labs, which were actually loaned out by the United States federal government to the healthcare community to do COVID research. They have over an exabyte of IBM AI-based Spectrum Scale and AI-based software. That also can traverse out to hybrid cloud environments. So A, open means you could go from cloud provider to cloud provider if you want to. And B, from our perspective, it also means all of our products are hybrid cloud enabled. And C, with certain of our products like Spectrum Virtualized, we support all these other people's storage arrays. So we can have one way to get out to the cloud if you're a heterogeneous storage shop by just using Spectrum Virtualized.
Yeah, that's a Spectrum Virtualized. That's a really great product from what I've seen of it. It seems it gives end users a lot of leverage as far as how they work with different manufacturers utilizing that open platform. So let's see here. One last question. Just it's about data portability at this point. It says end user wants to know, can you tell me about data portability with IBM Storage? And they specifically are pointing out moving on-prem data to the cloud or between cloud providers.
Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. Spectrum Virtualized for public cloud is a full instantiation of Spectrum Virtualized, but instead of being on a storage array, it's actually in a cloud. So when you are on-prem with our FlashSystem product, or if you're running in a heterogeneous environment, an EMC or a Pure or a NetApp block array running also with Spectrum Virtualized, all of those storage devices can see the Spectrum Virtualized in the cloud and basically set up a snap or a replica for business continuity or to move data back and forth. So it's very, very, very simple to do. The Spectrum Virtualized literally sits in the cloud provider, and all the on-prem storage, whether it's ours or anything that's leveraging Spectrum Virtualize, just thinks it's talking to Spectrum Virtualize on-prem when in fact it's out of the cloud. So it's basically a source and a target, a point and click. Just so happens that the target happens to be in the cloud, but the on-prem, automatically moves it because it sees basically Spectrum Virtualize and thinks it's moving data locally when in fact it's moving it out to the cloud. Now, obviously, the storage admins, the infrastructure guys know, but the software itself transparently knows that and automatically encrypts the data on the way out or the way back in. So very, very, very straightforward on how to move the data back and forth from a hybrid cloud perspective.
Okay. All right. Well, that's great. Well, thank you, Eric. That's all the questions that we have. So Jamie and Eric, thank you for your time and the in-depth presentation on IBM Flash Systems and hybrid cloud today. Gentlemen, I hope you have a great rest of the day. And to wrap up this presentation, we have a couple of more information slides on how you can receive additional data about the information in today's presentation. Thank you very much. So let's go ahead and discuss next steps. We'd like to offer an easy process to receive additional storage made simple for hybrid cloud with IBM Flash Systems data. If you're interested in additional data regarding today's presentation, let's schedule a follow-up call to discuss with the ACS subject matter experts. The team members can provide hybrid cloud solution roadmaps, use case data, and other solution options. Thank you for joining us for this installment of the Technology Whiteboard series. Based on customer feedback, future Technology Whiteboard presentations will include security, AI, machine learning, analytics, cloud strategy, and other current technology solution topics. Thanks again, and have a great day.